Wargaming revives a legend. Master of Orion. Conquer the stars.
My name is Jacob Beucler. I'm the Publishing Product Director for Master of Orion.
Thanks, Jacob, for taking the time to answer some of these questions for us. So,
how do you balance staying true to the original game while also ensuring that it's accessible enough for those newcomers as well as old players as well?
Yeah, it is the ultimate question. Carefully, diligently, respectfully. You have to pay attention to where this product came from and what its strengths were. You have to acknowledge the weaknesses within the IP as well. And it's also, it comes from a place of passion. You have to care, and I think that's the thing that really resonates with everybody on this team is we all care. Like, this matters to us. This isn't about just putting a product on the shelf, buttoning it up and moving it. Like, no, man, this is bringing back a legend. This is making a legendary experience of Master of Orion new again. And yeah, for a new generation, but that doesn't mean, we can walk away from what made this IP great to begin with over 20 years ago. And so, you look at the data, you engage the customers, you play the product as much as you can, and you respect that it's going to take time to do this. And when you're talking about balancing and you're talking about wargaming, like, we all know, we're very aware that that's a difficult thing to do. And we're not afraid of it. That's what we want to go get. And so by, integrating old guys from Master of Orion 2, bringing them on to help us reimagine this product has really helped solve some of those early balance issues that you asked.
Yeah, and as you said, like before in the opening of tonight as well, you said how much they told you when stuff didn't work. They told you when things worked really well, and how much of that do you reckon played a big role on where we are today?
Well, I think it's been hugely impactful, honestly. I mean, they've been with us every step of the way. From the first prototype, getting it off the ground. And so, like I said earlier, this is something that we all collaborate on a daily basis. This isn't, hey, well, let's check out the build this month. Like, no, it's what's new today. Yeah. How did it play today? What's the balance like? What's the pace like?
And making sure, everyone's, because like you said, this is the OG of, of this old game, and I was talking to a few people just before who were playing it, and I'm like, because I didn't, unfortunately, play the original game, and I was looking back at old gameplays and see how people play, and I was talking to a few people here tonight as well, and they were, quite surprised, like, this is actually works really well, compared to the old game. And it's really interesting to see that sort of transition into that as well. Which moves me on to saying, have you found the game, or how have you found the game shift towards any specific early entry into the Master of Orion series, or was it more of a blend of a fresh new sort of take of the actual game?
Well, that's a good question. And, for us, to reimagine Master of Orion means to be honest about what worked and what didn't with the other products in the series. Right? This isn't Master of Orion 4. We're not making Master of Orion 2.8. This is our reimagination brought to you by Victor and the rest of the team on providing a killer experience, something that's legendary, something that resonates with the new audience and gives goosebumps to the old school guys, right? Like, that's a really cool moment. We want fathers and sons to play together and to learn and to have those experiences. So, it's a challenge, but as long as you're honest about what worked and what didn't, and we've got access to the guys who built those games, there's lots of lessons there.
Yeah, and I think would you say how have you found yourself returning to the mechanics from the original game, or were maybe some of the older mechanics that you felt would have fit today's mechanics? Like, how would you reckon that would have been implemented in the old style, game of Master of Orion, and then competing with the new game as well. Again, I was talking to a few people downstairs, and I was saying a lot of games, they're fast paced, ready to go. You're just on straight away. Whereas here, not a lot of younger generations are used to that slow pace, point and click, turn-based type of game. And how do you reckon there's a nice transition between that?
Well, I think you have to take into account what making a great 4X game means. And you have to look at the pacing, right? And so when you're talking about, how quick can you get into it? How quick do you get hooked? For me, how many turns does it take me before I'm stuck in the just one more turn loop? And I look up, it's 4 a.m. I'm like, that was a lot more turns than I really intended, And so, trying to figure out the pacing for that and do it for the product. We're not focused on this age group and this demographic of this market. This is about the experience of Master of Orion. We know as a company what that means to us. And so that's what's inspiring us to bring these features out, and so I think an example is perhaps, some of the mid-game, late-game tactical battle stuff that we've got going. We've seen major improvements through early access, and it's been a polarizing conversation in the community, and just have to be honest about that. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are like, meh. Okay, well, that's fine, but it's something that matters to us when we take into account the full spectrum of the experience that we're going to have. We have to add all the parts up together to make a really incredible experience. That's what we're after.
Yeah, and I think sticking to that turn of with the newer generation and older generation having that mix, how would you say any new features of the game do you feel do a good job of embodying both the old and new Master of Orion?
That's a good question. So I think we're doing a couple things better now based on some feedback through early access. I think about the balance of the racial traits of the original races. They're a little different than they were in the original game, but that's because they need to be impactful for this version, right? And I think also if you look at the way that our technologies are unlocked and researched, that's a different experience which works better just at a plain user experience level than the original title, and in the collector edition you can literally compare the two, boot Master of Orion 2 and check it out, and then boot ours and go, oh yeah, that is a little easier to figure out, So we've made some good decisions there, but a lot of that stuff has been inspired by both hardcore fans, Victor, and the original developers. And
I'm sure you would have seen it as well, but I love how Master of Orion is on Steam, as you touched before, because you get that sort of feedback, the early access and everything different to having it sort of separated like we're used to with Wargaming. But it's interesting because you have that comment section where people are very honest about how they feel about the game, with the early access ratings as well, and just reading through those comments, how do you feel? Has that had any impact as well in terms of how the game develops over time, or as we progress as well into the full game?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been the intent, right? You're in for a real bad time if you're going to run an early access program and not listen to the feedback. And so it's a humbling experience, but honestly, man, the people that are providing feedback, for the most part, they're really constructive, and they're really honest, and they're coming from a place of love, right? They love this game. We bought the IP, but you'd be surprised by reading the boards, you would assume all these other people own the product too, and that's the point of early access. So it's cool. We're down. We gather that feedback, we read that feedback. Doesn't mean it's not hard to read. Doesn't mean we're not bummed out that we can't please everybody. Of course we would love to, but that's not realistic. What we can do, and the reason we are in early access, is to really build the best product we can, and we can't do that without the feedback. And so you look at early access 1, 2, and 3 for us, and we pushed to be feature complete. And now what we're doing is to push to deliver on the promise of integrating that feedback. So we care a lot. We've listened a lot. We want more feedback.
And I think that's really great in the sense of the whole community, in such that, you know, going back to initially, you love the game. You know, everyone loves the game in a sense that you want to make it the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting to the players as well, to show that how much love is, you know, there for the IP and as well the series, hopefully. Which, you know, you mentioned, you touched on, come October being the 20th anniversary of it, is there anything that the players can look forward to? You know, back then, is there anything that you can say?
Well, hey, look, you know, 20th anniversary, it's
big. It's a big
reason
thing,
to party for nothing else, right? So, you know, I'm hopeful that we can do really something fantastic for it, but can't really speak to that. You know, teasers are good. So that's where
we'll watch out for that.
Yeah.
I mean, Wargaming's been known for a lot of, you know, Halloween things, so maybe we'll just wait.
Hey, I love Halloween. You know, there's 11 races in the game. We should be doing some cosplay and having some fun. But you know, it's a Master of Orion 2 anniversary, so I'm really hopeful to see kind of where we go with it.
Awesome. Thank you very much again for taking the time to answer some of these questions. And
absolutely.
Thank you. I look forward to the full release.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Awesome.